You're looking live at the Fox News flight team over Chinese migrants trying to cross the southern border illegally. Griff Jenkins is live in Jacumba, California with the latest. Griff, what are you seeing down there?
I'm seeing a lot of migrants, Jason, and let me tell you, to put into perspective just how many Chinese are coming across the border, particularly in the San Diego area. In all of 2021, 450 total Chinese migrants crossed the entire border. This year, more than 20,000 in the last 4 months since the fiscal year began. Let me show you, though.
Welcome to our podcast tonight. This is pretty heavy stuff tonight. This has been on my heart for several years. For America, for our children and grandchildren, it's time to wake up to the massive corruption in America. Communist China's influence in American politics, in education, in the media, in our economy, all of this runs very, very deep. We know that the Joe Biden family, at the very least, they are indirectly on the Communist China's payroll. Thousands of Chinese of military age, men and women, some, have crossed our borders, part of the great invasion where millions are coming over because Biden has opened up the border. But many Chinese are coming across the border as well, and who knows what's going to happen from that. Now let's add to that. These violent protests were funded by Democrat supporters. Go check Fox News and a whole other host of sites. They're being funded by Democrat supporters, Joe Biden supporters, right? Millions and even billions of dollars have been given to these organizations that are supporting the Palestinian, or let's say our melon heads, terrorists, these willful idiots that are protesting on campuses right now. Oh gosh, I counted maybe 15 Middle East countries giving billions of dollars to these American universities. But let's add to that, China has given billions of dollars to these elite programs and to these elite universities. Because bribery and extortion are a major art form in China. But they cannot fulfill their mission to take down America unless they have willing and useful idiots in America, i.e. Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. So tonight, we will examine an article by Wayne Allen Root, a great patriot, a great leader. He contends right now that most politicians are bribed by the CCP, by the Communist China Party. China, Biden, Obama, Satan, and America's destruction tonight. Okay? Let's go. Well, we'll probably put a link to this article, but we want to go ahead and go through the article. It's a wonderful article, and what I mean by that is just got so much information, and he ties up all these loose ends, because so many in America are saying, what in the world's going on? What's happening to our country? These last 3 or 4 years have been terrible. I think we're hitting the nail on its head. Let me begin. He begins this. Our country is on the verge of so many bad things. A communist color revolution is going on right now, complete with censorship, weaponization of government against our own citizens, witch hunts, communist show trials, okay? See Donald Trump going on right now. January 6th, the prisoners, actually they're hostages. He says, soon we could face revolution, anarchy, civil war. This got my attention. I think China wants to create a civil war. This is why they're dividing Americans. Soon we could face revolution, anarchy, civil war, societal collapse, and to anyone who is in blind, deaf, or very dumb, World War III is already here. All of this is happening, in my opinion, he writes, because of China and the Communist Chinese Party. They created it, they produced it, it's coordinated, and they made it happen by bribing the entire Democratic Party and every Democrat politician, a large percentage of the government, of the establishment GOP, and all the key U.S. government bureaucrats. I got to read that again because I don't want you to miss this. They created it, produced it, coordinated it. They made it happen by bribing the entire Democratic Party and every Democrat politician, a large percentage of the establishment GOP, part of the deep state, and all the U.S. government bureaucrats. How do I know? Just answer these questions, and he hits a very, what I call a salient point here. Who has the most to gain from the unimaginable division, damage, and destruction going on in America today? Question. Think about it. Who is our biggest rival? Who is our avowed enemy? Who wants to become the #1 economy in the world? And who wants to dominate the world? It is not Russia. Russia can deal with Europe. The one country that wants to dominate the world and that is our biggest rival and wants to be the #1 economy of the world, clearly it is China. He says China and the CCP have the motive and the most to gain. I've made thousands of predictions for the past decade on my TV and radio shows. I'm batting close to 1,000. And I'm telling you at this moment, my gut is screaming louder than it ever has before in my life. It's China and the CCP at the root, excuse the pun, of all the crisis, chaos, and catastrophe in America today. And I have to say tonight, I totally 100% agree with him. Are others in the mix? Absolutely. My gut says Barack Obama. Have you forgot about him? Have you forgot how bad it was, even though he was elected twice? Because we got probably the worst Republican people running against him. I mean, McCain, God bless him. And the other guy, Romney. My gut says Barack Obama is the main man being used by China and the CCP to carry out the destruction of America, the destruction of American exceptionalism, capitalism, and the Judeo-Christian values. He's their point man. He carries out the orders. Of course, the deep state, DC, the swamp, the DNC are trusted partners of China, especially all the three-letter government agencies. You know what those are, don't you? The three-letter government agencies, the corrupt DOJ, the corrupt FBI, the NSA, the IRS, the DHS, and let's throw the CDC in that as well, i.e. COVID. And all the globalists and communist fascist billionaires who hate America, capitalism, and freedom. And the list, George Soros, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, and the World Economic Forum. And all of those who know what's going on, you know this all sounds very familiar to you. And no doubt, at the top of the evil pyramid is Satan. I like when he brings this in because we understand what we're dealing with is a battle between good and evil, not necessarily between Democrat and Republican, between the liberal and conservative. We're dealing with evil versus good. He says this, at the top of the pyramid is Satan. Satan hates God. Satan hates America. Satan hates faith. He hates freedom. He hates family. And Satan hates capitalism. China and communism are godless. It's a perfect partnership. Oh, I love the way he put that. The partnership between the godless communist and Satan is a perfect marriage, a marriage made in hell. That's just my opinion, and all who suspects are. Everything happening today benefits China and the CCP. Now, he continues. Watch. The open borders invasion with our government welcoming in tens of millions of foreign criminals, terrorists, dangerous military-age males, willing to bankrupt America to pay for them. This is an army to destroy America from within. Who would want this? No normal American would want this, and yet the Democrats of Biden are pushing it. They started it. Another, drugs flowing in over that open border that kill over 100,000 young Americans a year. Who would allow this? We know what's coming from China being allowed by the Biden administration. Green air energy and the ESG based on climate change fraud. It's a climate change fraud, he writes, and propaganda. The result? American companies are wasting billions, and the greatest middle class in the world is being destroyed, while China keeps building hundreds of new coal and gas plants annually, while using dirty fossil fuel to their heart's content. Rigged elections, a hallmark of communism. Lawfare, weaponization of government against anyone who disagrees with deep state lies and fraud and propaganda. And that's what our president, President Trump's dealing with right now. The DEI, the CRT, the tools of the Communist Party, left to create division, jealousy, racism, a hatred between black and white Americans. Who do you think's behind this division between the black and the white Americans? Most Americans are not racist. Most Americans, black and white, are good people. And yet they create this division. Let me continue. The sudden outbreak of Jew hatred and threat of genocide to Israel and the Jewish people. Where did all this come from? It's never been seen in the history of America. Just more division to break America apart. And reparations, oh my gosh, don't get me started on reparations. Created to put jealousy, hate, division, bankruptcy in America. Now, listen to what they just said. What he's saying here is everything they do is to divide and conquer. This is Marxism. This is communism. They're trying to divide Americans so that they can conquer Americans. Let's continue. The DEI is destroying U.S. companies with unqualified employees. This sudden obsession with rainbow flags and transgenders and converting America's children. Where did this come from? Suddenly, nearly 30% of Generation X describes themselves as LGBT, including 40% of women at elite colleges are describing themselves as LGBT, part of the gay mafia. These are percentages never seen in the history of the world. DEI, all right, is destroying the quality of U.S. universities and now base admission on race, but don't consider test scores, all right? So this DEI is allowing people to come in based on their race. We got to have so many Asians. We got to have so many black people. We've got to have so many of this group and so many of that group, so many of this group, and not look at their test scores. So people who really shouldn't even qualify, and there are other people that are sitting outside that don't qualify, don't get in. So we're not producing the best that America can. So this should have nothing to do with race and color or religion. It should be based on merit, whether you can pass the mustard or not. Our once mighty military, this hurts me. Our once mighty military being decimated by the DEI, all right, the CRT, the transgender brainwashing, climate change fraud, deadly vaccines, and we've given all the weapons and ammo away to who? Ukraine. We have actually emptied our reserves in every way because we gave it all to Ukraine. Defund the police, combined with communist-backed district attorneys who allow violent criminals to walk free with no bail. The result, we now have a mass crime wave, retail theft at historic levels, streets filled with homeless people, drug needles, pee and poop everywhere, retail businesses closing by the thousands, food shortages mixed with supply chain dysfunction, led by the least qualified human being in U.S. history. Now, we talk about Biden. Who is the least qualified human being in U.S. history? Mayor Pete, well, he writes Butthead. I won't say it, but it's Buttigieg. Now, historic levels of excess deaths only since the day the COVID vaccine was introduced. What happens to our economy as those deaths multiply and there's no one left to fill jobs crucial to society? Who gains if our society collapses? Communist China. Everyone running for their lives from blue cities and states, driving property values dramatically down. Who benefits most from all this disaster? China. All this chaos and crisis and catastrophe has been created and coordinated by China and the CCP. Don't miss this, folks. Don't miss this. To weaken, disrupt, divide, demoralize, and eventually destroy America. the U.S. economy and capitalism. This is straight out of the communist playbook. He continues. When it gets bad enough, when it causes civil war, and this is what scares me more than when it causes civil war, he writes, or the collapse of our economy and society, China and the CCP plan to be there to pick up the pieces, to conquer us, enslave us into a godless communist society, or at the very least dominate America economically, military, and on the world stage. And here's a bonus. They get to take over our farmland and valuable real estate at cheap bargain basement prices. And why are they buying up hundreds of thousands of acres now? Here's an absolute worst scenario for China. Civil war, division, and anarchy will keep America weak and distracted when China invades Taiwan. Can I add something to this? With all those military-aged men coming into the border, thousands of Chinese men, they're saboteurs. They will not only steal information when they get to these college, university, whatever, but what's going to happen if they invade Taiwan? What's going to happen to our internet? We'll have a little sabotage of our infrastructure. The electric grid is taken down in this area and that area, causing a little chaos. And we're so busy taking care of that, especially if you have Biden as president, we're really sunk. But we'll be so busy taking care of that we'll forget Taiwan. This also explains what's happening to President Trump. Trump is the only one standing in the way of China's plan to conquer America and dominate the world. Trump is the only one too wealthy to bribe. He's the only one not going along with the plan, so he must be demoralized, destroyed, bankrupted, rot for life in prison, and sadly, maybe even assassinated. Yes, this is all China and the CCP, with the assist from Obama, and Satan at the very top of the pyramid. And if you don't understand this, you're either blind, deaf, really dumb, or he says you're part of the conspiracy. My friend, we are at a critical juncture in history. You better wake up. If you're a Christian, you know better than to vote for the Democratic Party. They stand for everything that's anti-God, anti-Bible. I mean, the list is endless. And if you were willing to vote for them, what's wrong with you? Maybe you need to get right with God. Christians, evangelicals need to come out in mass and vote for President Trump. I understand no president can change everything overnight. I know that. But he will allow us to get our feet under us so we can actually get out and get the gospel out. Because Joe Biden and the Democrats want to ultimately take away our free speech rights. We're seeing it right now as he weaponizes the DOJ and the FBI and all of that as well. We must stand. We must have courage. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about my children and all my grandchildren. This is why we had to take that stand today. And I said this, and I will say it today. I'm going to be preaching in a few weeks at my church on American paganism. The greatest thing we can have now is courage. Courage to stand for what is right. You and I must make a decision. You and I must stand up. Amen? All right, we'll try to have some information. I think if we can, talk to my Mr. Producer, we'll put this article underneath the video. All right? Thank you so much for watching today. And man, please like, please subscribe. This particular message, please share it if you will. All right? Good night and God bless.